Last experience. I've been very, very fortunate in my career. Back to have I faced systemic challenges? I can tell you when I first went into policing that there weren't very many women in any specialized sections of the police force. I was the 5th woman hired on the force, and we have well over 20 now. And to even aspire to being a detective in major crime when I first started was a big deal. And over the course of my career, I've had the great fortune of being a community police officer, a detective in family services section, special munitions team leader for our crowd management team, taser instructor. I think you've seen my bio, and I've really had the opportunity to look at every nook and cranny of our organization for the first 25 years, 20 years at an operational level, and now as an executive.
I don't think anyone would argue with your qualifications, for sure. What is the current state of your force as you take command?
I think we're in good shape, not unlike a lot of public sector organizations right now. We are strapped for resources. That is a sign of the times.
What resources are you short on?
It's generally a staffing issue, and we've had several retirements over the last year, and I would expect more in the near future. That's just where we are on that hiring bubble. As you know, back in the 70s, we had a big hiring boom, and so some of those people are starting to age out of their profession. So we have people that are retiring out. We also have. Just like any work organization, some people who are on leave for one reason or another, being sickness or long-term disabilities, and so those have impacts on the working numbers on the street, which makes it tough on the folks that are slogging it out day in and day out.
How's morale?
That's the seems to be one of the number one questions that I've been getting lately. And Terry, I'll say to you, as I said to Mike Staples yesterday in Galena, that I really believe, and I've said this over and over again this year, that morale is something that each and every one of us have a piece of. It doesn't rest with one person in particular, and each and every one of us have the ability to choose how we're going to respond to circumstances that we're facing. So what I'd like to say is that we've got a tremendous workforce of people who love their job, that are good at their job. They got into policing because they want to keep the community safe, and they're very proud of their profession.
Yeah, right.
And those folks come to work every day, regardless of
I try to connect people with
press or bad press.
Has press affected the morale?
I think it's safe to say that when press is negative, particularly when it's negative for what turns out to be unjust reasons, that's difficult.
What would be an unjust? What are we talking about?
Yeah, well, just you've read the papers and been reporting in the last year and some of the tough issues that we've dealt with, and it's.
We're talking about the Charles LeBlanc situation.
Not particularly. There's, as you know, in policing, we're under scrutiny frequently. We are a very, very public-facing profession. We wear our uniforms and drive cars that make us subject to criticism. Some warranted, of course, and that's my job to deal with those situations when they are justified complaints and deal with those accordingly. But there are times that officers are unjustly accused of activities, and that is difficult to stand up to. But they also know, Terry, that does come with the territory, and back to the officers that come to work every day and do a good job and keep our city safe day and night. I think that's the things that we have to really focus on. And by and large, I would say that the feeling in the building is positive. Folks are working hard. They're doing their best to provide top-level quality policing in our community, and I think that they've done so very, very well, particularly this last year, during a period of transition with an acting chief of police. That's always a challenge because you are moving forward, you're being flexible, you're providing service, but in some respects it feels like you're standing still.
What needs fixing on your force?
I wouldn't say that there's any one particular issue that needs fixing, to use your word. I think that this is an opportunity to continue to move forward, to continue to develop our organization. As I mentioned earlier, just like every other public sector organization right now, we're facing fiscal restraints, and our folks are well aware of the fact that we are affected by that, just like every other organization around us, and they are very, very much committed to finding more efficient and effective ways to deliver police service. And you've heard me talk recently about our crime reduction strategy and our strategic plan going forward. And central to that is to identify smarter and more efficient ways to deal with crime prevention, get out in front of crime in the first place. And we have some really neat initiatives that are on the go, and I think that folks are excited to leverage some of those new strategies, to be involved in the development of those new strategies going forward. And I think when you start looking towards the future and you start putting your mind to that, that generates a lot of momentum and a lot of excitement in the workforce. And we are policing in the 21st century, and our folks are anxious to get at it.
What are your goals? What are your personal goals that you've set for yourself as you take the job?
My personal goals are to continue to lead the force in a calm and professional fashion. I said when I took on the acting chief's job, and I was asked if I was going to apply for the chief's job, and I said, well, listen, it's both a personal and professional decision, and I can't state that enough, that when you take on a job like chief of police, you're taking on a lot of responsibility, and it doesn't just impact you, it impacts your family. And I chose to apply for the job because I still love my profession. I'm still very passionate about it. I love this city. When I drive into work in the morning and I round Highway 105 and I see that big Canadian flag that lays out in front of the city of Fredericton, it fills me with pride to be able to be here in town and lead our police force. If you look at our strategic plan, it's very clear about where our focus is going to be in the next 3 years. I said when I took this on that I had more to do in my post before I leave, and of course key among those are reduction and prevention of domestic violence and intimate partner violence, further ingraining our crime reduction strategy and the efforts of our neighborhood action team, providing support to our frontline officers so that they can best do their jobs out there with the resources and the training that they need. Roadway safety is always an issue that we want to focus on.
In the city, for sure. You mentioned driving in on 105. Do you actually live in the city, or do you live outside the city?
I just have a nice little farm, just a couple of minutes outside of the city, and that location shall remain undisclosed.
I think that's probably a pretty good idea. People will be wanting to go on farm tours. Appreciate your time. Congratulations on the appointment.
Thank you.
That's Fredericton's new police chief, Leanne Fitch. Any comments, please get in touch. info@fredericton@cbc.ca. You can also talk to me on Twitter. My address is @SEGUINCBC.